standing in Winterfell again because of me. You didn't win it back. Jon didn't win it back. He lost the Battle of the Bastards. The Knights of the Vale won the battle, and they rode north for me, while you were off, where, traveling the world?
I was training.
Training. Well, while you were training, I suffered things you could never imagine.
Oh, I don't know about that. I can imagine quite a lot.
Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with some juice to get you through the long night. And the night is long. But finally, we are ready. We've been to Bravos, we've talked about Jaqen and Syrio, but finally we are going to talk about our favorite serial killer, Arya Stark. That might sound weird saying that Arya is a serial killer, but Arya is indeed a serial killer. But I don't care, that's bae. Arya Stark is like one of my favorite, probably my favorite character in A Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones. So we know Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire deals a lot in symbolism and legend, lore, and history repeating. So let's break Arya all the way down. Arya Stark is the youngest daughter of Ned Stark and Catelyn Tully. She's usually compared a lot to Lyanna Stark, and of all of her siblings, she is the closest with Jon. And also out of all of her siblings, she and Jon look like the Starks, while the others look like the Tullys. When all of the Starks are in Winterfell and they get those totally symbolic wolf pups, Arya names her pup Nymeria. Nymeria and Arya have a similar journey. Nymeria bites Joffrey in the Riverlands while protecting Arya, and Nymeria gets separated from everyone and survives roaming the Riverlands. Much like Nymeria, Arya is separated from her pack, her family, and she roams the Riverlands and eventually even ends up in Essos. So let's look more into the symbolism of Nymeria the wolf versus Nymeria the queen and what that means for Arya. So Arya named Nymeria after Nymeria and her 10,000 ships. During the rise of Valyria along the river Rhoyne lived a people, the Rhoynish people. They clashed with the Dragon Lords, for they had no desire to be slaves. It was a hopeless war, and the Rhoynish couldn't hope to win. But only Nymeria had the sense that God gave a cat. Legend tells us that Nymeria took 10,000 ships to sea, searching for a new home for her people beyond the long reach of Valyria and its dragon lords. Belzakar argues that this number was vastly inflated, perhaps as much as tenfold. Other chroniclers offer other numbers, but in truth, no true count was ever made. We can safely say there were a great many ships. Most were rivercraft, skiffs and pole boats, trading galleys, fishing boats, pleasure barges, even rafts, their decks and holds crammed full of women and children and old men. Only 1 in 10 was remotely seaworthy, Beldakar insists. Nymeria's voyage was long and terrible. More than 100 ships foundered and sank in the first storm her fleet encountered. As many or more turned back in fear and were taken by slavers out of Atlantis. Others fell behind or drifted away, never to be seen again. Nymeria's people would settle in Sithorios and Nath. The battered, tattered remainder of the 10,000 ships sailed west with Princess Nymeria. This time she made for Westeros, after so much wandering. The remaining ships made landfall on the coast of Dorne near the mouth of the river Greenblood. Most of these Dornish lords viewed the Rhoynar as unwelcome interlopers, invaders with queer foreign ways and strange gods, who should be driven back into the sea whence they came. But Mors Martell, the lord of the Sandship, saw in the newcomers an opportunity, and if the singers can be believed, his lordship also lost his heart to Nymeria, the fierce and beautiful warrior queen who had led her people across the world to keep them free. When you first think of Nymeria, 10,000 ships come to mind. That and saving her people from impending doom, but also all the wandering that she did before she actually found her way. Something along these lines could be in store for Arya. We've already seen Arya do a lot of wandering until she found her way, and she really hasn't found her way yet. But either way, Nymeria led her people west. Maybe Arya will do something similar.
Essos is east and Westeros is west. But what's west of Westeros?
I don't know.
Nobody does. It's where all the maps stop.
The edge of the world, maybe.
I'd like to see that.
But it could be less literal than all that. At the end of the day, Nymeria wasn't whole a warrior queen or princess, and Nymeria isn't the only warrior queen that Arya has parallels with.
Aegon and his sisters.
Hmm?
It wasn't just Aegon riding his dragon. It was Rhaenys and Visenya too. Rhaenys rode Meraxus. Visenya rode Vhagar. Visenya Targaryen was a great warrior. She had a Valyrian steel sword she called Dark Sister.
She's a heroine of yours, I take it.
Arya has a ton of parallels with Visenya Targaryen, but when you actually sit down and think of it, Sansa, Arya, and Jon parallel Aegon, Visenya, and Rhaenys. But wait. Cool down. I'm not saying they are all secret Targaryens and they're going to ride dragons and shit. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying, though, is there are some parallels there between Aegon and his sisters and Jon or Aegon and his sisters. Visenya, eldest of the three siblings, was as much a warrior as Aegon himself, as comfortable in ringmail as in silk. She carried the Valyrian longsword Dark Sister and was skilled in its use, having trained beside her brother since childhood. Though possessed of the silver gold hair and purple eyes of Valyria, hers was a harsh, austere beauty. Even those who loved her best found Visenya stern, serious, unforgiving, and some said that she played with poisons and dabbled in dark sorceries. Arya has trained with the sword since she was a little girl, and she's very skilled in swordplay. Much like Visenya, Arya isn't called beautiful either. Arya is also stern, serious, and unforgiving. You only need to look at her funny little list to confirm that. But the last line about Visenya is what really sticks out. Some said that she played with poisons and dabbled in dark sorceries. Arya literally learns poisons and bravos, and she uses those skills to wipe out the Freys. Also, if being a faceless assassin isn't dabbling in the dark arts, then I don't know what is. The parallels between Arya and Visenya are hammered home even further when you look at the parallels that Arya's sister has with Visenya's sister. Rhaenys, youngest of the three Targaryens, was all her sister was not. Playful, curious, impulsive, given to flights of fancy. No true warrior, Rhaenys loved music, dancing, and poetry, and supported many a singer, mummer, and puppeteer. Sansa is much like Rhaenys. Rhaenys was everything that Visenya was not, and Sansa was everything that Arya was not. Sansa could sew and dance and sing. She wrote poetry. She knew how to dress. She played the high harp and the bells. Worse, she was beautiful. Sansa had gotten their mother's fine high cheekbones and the thick auburn hair of the Tullys. Arya took after their lord father. Her hair was a lusterless brown, and her face was long and solemn. Jean used to call her Arya Horseface and neigh whenever she came near. It hurt that the one thing Arya could do better than her sister was ride a horse. Sansa and Arya parallel Rhaenys and Visenya, Aegon's sisters, and Jon's name happens to be Aegon. So we can see the symbolism or parallels between their characteristics. Is it a coincidence that Arya parallels not one but two warrior queens? And she also parallels her aunt Lyanna, in which if Rhaegar did live, Lyanna would have been Rhaegar's queen. But do we really think Arya would make a good queen or is even going to be queen? Firstly, I don't think she would make a good queen. And secondly, I don't think she's going to be queen. In order for her to be queen, she would have to marry a king. And that's not her. Everyone and their mamas mamas ships Gendry and Arya, and I just don't. Gendry's role is not really anything in the books. Like, it's not really nothing. Like, the show combined him with Edric and made his story much bigger than what it actually is. Like, Gendry at this point is fan service. I'm not saying that he might not have a bigger role later in the books, but as of now, Gendry and Arya are like night and day. I just can't see it happening. And I'm just saying, I mean, Joe Dempsey is hot, but Arya isn't going to marry him. And I'll tell you why and what I think is going on. She has always been the wild card of the whole entire story and the wild card of her own family, the lone wolf. Arya is going to fight for her family, much like Visenya and Nymeria, but Bran gave her a Valyrian steel dagger for a reason. In the books, I actually think Bran will get Visenya's Valyrian steel sword Dark Sister from the cave because Bloodraven has it, and Bran will then give that sword to Arya. After all, Arya is Bran's Dark Sister, and Dark Sister is a slender blade just like Needle, but is Valyrian steel. But on the show, I think that Arya is going to follow a Visenya-ish path. Some of her family and friends are going to die. She will avenge them. And when everything is said and done, do we really think that Arya is going to get some happily ever after canoodling with some High Lord or some bastard? No, she's not. She's a warrior. She's an assassin. She's gonna be an assassin, at least in my opinion. And if you don't agree, just hear me out for a second. So Arya didn't go through everything that she went through to just go back to Winterfell and become some lord's lady. At the end of the day, whether she wants to or not, she's a servant of the many-faced god. She drank from the pool, the same pool that kills everyone else, but it didn't kill Arya. Arya went too far with the faceless men, and there is no turning back for her. She paid the price, and wearing a face seems to seal the deal. I obey. I can be humbler than anyone. That made him chuckle. You will be the very goddess of humility, I am sure. But can you pay the price? What price? The price is you. The price is all you have and all you ever hope to have. We took your eyes and gave them back. Next, we will take your ears and you will walk in silence. You will give us your legs and crawl. You will be no one's daughter, no one's wife, no one's mother. Your name will be a lie, and the very face you wear will not be your own. She almost bit her lip again, but this time she caught herself and stopped. My face is a dark pool, hiding everything, showing nothing. She thought of all the names that she had worn. Ari, Weasel, Squab, Cat of the Canals. She thought of the stupid girl from Winterfell called Arya Horseface. Names did not matter. I can pay the price. Give me a face. What you might not know is that Arya had to go through a lot to get her first face. And in my opinion, in the books, it seems like they took her face away. Cut her fucking face off. And I'm not being dramatic. They gave her the face of some strangled girl whose father beat on her or something. And it was only later that they gave her face back. So no. When Jaqen tells Arya, finally a girl is no one, it's because she is no one. She will serve the many-faced god. When everything is said and done, Arya will live. But she won't stay in Westeros happily ever after in Winterfell with her family. I mean, this ain't Disney. She will be a formidable warrior in the wars to come. Nymeria and her 10,000 direwolves will show up and fight beside Arya. And then when her duty is done and her list is finished, I think we will see Arya leaving Westeros and arriving at the House of Black and White to fulfill her duty. Arya is no one, and she's went too far to ever change that. So if she doesn't go back, I believe she leaves Westeros and goes west, ducking assassins for the rest of her life. She won't stay in Westeros. She won't want what happened to Lady Crane to happen to her family. But these are the only outcomes I see for Arya. Arya was allowed to go to Westeros to finish her business, but after that, well, I guess it's up to Dan and Dave. Because the show Faceless Men storyline and the book Faceless Men storyline is like completely different. But what do you think is in the cards for Arya? Somehow I think that training she received wasn't free and it came with obligations, and she can't turn back now. She's no one. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.